and they will go right back in.
Yeah, that's on our dime. We've got to go down and clean up now.
Okay.
So we'll make sure they get to it.
I mean, I don't see any huge rains in the forecast, but before...
But sooner or later.
Yeah. Oh, and they will definitely go right back in.
Gotcha.
And the last one, in case anyone doesn't, I guess October 24th, the chipper starts?
Yes.
I want to put branches up, but I just want to, like, how is it? I'm a little unfamiliar how it's going to work this year.
They want you to separate, put the branches in one spot, the leaves in another, because they're going to go around, they're going to pick all the branches up, then pick the leaves up, and they're going to continue. Just make a loop, so just make sure everything is out. Obviously, like we always do, facing the street so they can grab them and go. So if you have any questions, Bob does have, I think it's on the website too, you can probably go in and look at the, I think he calls it a yard waste and leaf pickup is what it's on the website.
Okay, thank you.
That it?
Yep.
Thank you. Mr. Fisher?
Yes, a couple things, Mayor. So yesterday was our court hearing on the affordable housing settlement. And Mayor, should I go back to 1975 or should we?
I think everyone's had enough sleep.
Okay. So phase one of the process, which we discussed, was entering into the MOUs with the 3 intervenor developers. Phase two was working on the global settlement with Fair Share Housing Center, and then converting those MOUs into formal settlement agreements. And then yesterday was the opportunity for us to present to the court all of that tied together. So you literally had, by way of the settlement agreement, and then as exhibits, each of the individual settlement agreements with the 3 developers, and then the 4th, the redevelopers agreement with Connell. They didn't intervene, so the way to settle with them was by way of redevelopers agreement. And at the court hearing, the court ruled as follows. The settlement with Fair Share Housing Center as to the number and of 389 and the methodology with how we get there, which is spelled out in that settlement agreement, was all approved. The court also accepted each of the settlement agreements and that Connell redevelopers agreement. So you had the Kings, Locust, and movie theater settlements and all the exhibits accepted, as well as the Connell property. What's going to happen is that'll be memorialized in a form of order. All parties need to agree to it. Our counsel, and then counsel for each of the interveners, and Fair Share Housing Center, and then the court will enter that order, and then that closes phase 2, which is the settlement. Then we move to phase 3. I mentioned that in some of the earlier discussions that this process doesn't end in a way, it's just the beginning of the next phase. So now what we have is protection until April 17th of 2017 for us to develop our housing plan. And so what we need to do is follow each of those settlement agreements that were reached, and there's going to be a bunch of back and forth between our professionals, which includes redevelopment studies for the properties, planning type analysis, and it's going to go back and forth between us, the planning board, back and forth on each of them. Each will move at its own pace. But what's important about this is that there's stringent deadlines applied, and were we not to follow the process, conceivably we could lose our immunity. And so what we're going to be doing is our planner, Mr. Mistretta, is going to prepare a detailed summary and analysis of each of these individual critical events, list them, and then also we'll create a schedule for ourselves so that we know that by doing all of this, we'll continue with our immunity leading up to that hearing in April where our plan gets heard by the court. The court will make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. The developers need to do what they need to do under the settlements. And so The takeaway from all this is it doesn't end with the court approving it. Now we've got to go implement it. So lots of dates and deadlines. The other important part of this is the developers, pursuant to those settlement agreements, need to pay for the professional fees of the planner and engineers and associated studies. So that's a good thing. A lot of this was coming out of our budget, legal fees, professional fees, et cetera. You'll now see a conversion of that where the developers need to start funding this. So that's where we are. I think it's a watershed event for the municipality. The court specifically made mention that we did a great job in handling this, that we were able to control our density and do it in a way that also gets our design standards followed. So we got some commendations by the court, and I think, tie in future development with the park, and a lot of work for all of us, but protection till 2025.
2025. Mark, I want to thank you. Obviously, we've done that before, but you're certainly deserving again of it. Mike Mistretta, John Masicolo, our counsel. I just want to remind you of one thing. The so-called adversary in this essentially was the fair share housing. And I say adversary, they weren't necessarily on any particular letterhead on a court document. But throughout this, we were dealing with interveners being developers. And when we were really kind of finalizing this with fair share, the developers, understandably so, some of them, okay, maybe looked to take advantage of a situation as the time clock was running down, okay? They're business people, okay? That kind of came into play, even more so perhaps than finalizing with fair share, because we had to obviously deal with them. And that, I thought, was a major effort on the part of all of those who did the work, because, if they don't go along, because like Mark said, now we have to put this in play. So we're going to be dealing with them on all kinds of levels, back to the planning board, back here, so on and so forth. It's going to continue. So how we maintain that relationship is extremely important. So again, I want to thank everybody, but I think the public should be made aware that we're there, but there's still some things that need to be done. We're protected, as Mark said, we're protected, which is important. Okay.
I just said something else first.
Absolutely.
I don't know if everyone up here has read about it, but it's made not only the local press, but also the national press. Summit's running a pilot program with Uber to deal with parking, particularly commuter parking. Summit's got a few garages. They're at capacity, very difficult to find parking. Again, this isn't unique to Berkeley Heights. It's a problem that all of the municipalities face. Right now, we've got a 2-year wait for commuter parking. I think we need to be prepared in the short term and the long term. We're getting more development projects. It's going to put a greater strain on our commuter parking. I think it's an impediment to home values. We need to be attractive to commuters to New York. We need to be similarly situated with a parking perspective to our neighboring municipalities. And, we looked into parking decks. I'm not in favor of a parking deck. It's out of character with our community. The cost of a parking deck, I don't recall the exact number, but it's something like $7,000 per space to construct a parking deck. It's just not feasible given the locale, given the land that we have, and to set aside other land for parking, we just don't have it, and the cost is too great. I think we need to monitor this. I think we need to reach out to Summit. I think this is something that could be great for the town. I think we should explore that with Summit, with their business administrator, with the mayor, and see if we can piggyback on it for two reasons. One of which I mentioned, but we're also, as we move forward with the redevelopment of the municipal complex, while it's our best intention to keep the parking open, the fact of the matter is, it's a construction site, we likely will lose some spaces, and to have this type of Uber arrangement, and we can look into how we price a permit related to the Uber side of it, to have private dollars pay for it as opposed to us paying for it. But I think it's a great way to mitigate the parking costs, and it's something we should absolutely explore, either with Uber or Lyft or something like it.
Well, I would agree with that. I was going to comment to that, and Mark and I spoke about it the other day, and I appreciate you doing that, Mark. I think it's particularly effective, or will be for us, because of the reconstruction issue. I really do. Now, were you able to glean, Mark, whether or not Summit was taking some, let's, for example, someone would agree to pay whatever the cost is, let's say, to park, but you don't have a spot, okay? Are they taking a portion of that, allocating it to Uber? And
Right now, it's just a pilot, so I think they're taking 100 participants.
And working on it.
And they're seeing how it works. I don't see why it wouldn't or couldn't work. Now, right now, Summit, I think, is subsidizing a portion of it. But, you know, but the analysis is the parking deck would have cost them $10 million. It's a capital outlay today. If you don't have to outlay the $10 million and you pay X number of dollars in small increments to subsidize Uber to make the parking work, you know, the analysis would be obviously time value of money. You're much better off making that small investment. I think that's stuff we can figure out if we've got whatever number of spaces we have now, and then you could have those hard parking spaces that people pay a permit fee for. You then have, for lack of a better term, the Uber parking permit fee that those people could pay whatever fee, whether that covers it completely or whether we subsidize it. The reality is, I think we'd get the money back tenfold even if we had to subsidize it. And again, the numbers have to work for everybody, but to get that wait list down, it's probably the number one complaint, if I had to guess, Anna, that you get calls on the duration of the parking wait list. I think it helps the real estate market. And again, we have short-term issues, redevelopment parking. We're going to have more development projects happening in town, greater strain on the parking here. I think something like that could be the answer, and certainly worth exploring.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Ms. Kingsley?
Okay, yeah, I just have a brief, communication update. Our communication technical expert now, Mr. Basicolo, and I have met a couple of times on the whole issue of streaming. We interviewed a couple of vendors, we met with Long Hill, we looked at it, and then we reached out to Sander and talked about what was the best approach. And I want to thank Sander for his help, because in meeting with him and talking with him, we basically purchased what is a much cheaper option that we were able to buy. And Sander came and spent a lot of time today to try to get it up and running. And I think it really is the cheapest alternative for all, the taxpayers and everybody involved. And it works with our existing camera. No matter what we do and move, it'll move with us, and we will just pay a monthly fee so that we can live stream and upload it and attach it to the website. So hopefully with the next meeting, technology will be up and running, it'll be attached to the website, and we should be good to go from here. Okay. So
It's working right now.
Oh, good. Perfect. So
Thank you, Sander.
I want to thank Sander, because he realized, it takes a village here.
We held the flashlight, that was a mistake.
And second of all, with, the website, hopefully people have been on it and are using it, because I know if you sign up for your meeting notices, it's working, you actually do get the notices, it does push to you. And hopefully people are using that feature on there that you can, report a problem or report an issue, because if you see a catch basin or you see a pothole, I know I have been sending in, as I go walking around town and I see a catch basin that looks like it's starting to sink, I send a picture of it, and I take the picture, and I write on exactly where the address is, and I send that in to the town, and I've actually been getting responses back thanking me, so they can actually go in and fix the catch basin before it actually sinks. So I do recommend using that aspect of the website. It does help if you send them a picture and the address when you see the problem, so our DPW guys can actually go out and tackle the problem. But it is working, so just, continue to use it, and if you're, seeing things with the website that aren't working, feel free to give comments to our administrator.
And we have made some changes, by the way. We did have some recommendations, and we did make some changes.
Okay.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
Thank you. I just have one item. On Veterans Day, there will be a ceremony across the street, okay? I believe it's at 8 o'clock, is that correct, Midge? 8 o'clock. We had one last year at the new facility, and it went great, and we're going to make this a yearly thing. And so we, please, on your way to work, stop. It's only going to be 15, 20 minutes. That's about all it's going to be. It's not on the 11th hour of the 11th day, but it is the 11th day of the 11th month. Okay, those of you who have your history, that is when World War I came to a conclusion. Okay. Mr. Pasicolo.
Wait, Mayor?
I think you skipped.
Just, are the veterans also having something at their place at 11?
I'm not sure whether they are. They are participating in the 8 o'clock moment. I know that. They usually do have something.
Typically, they have something.
Typically, they
Something
do.
late in the day, right?
So,
At 11, if they do.
They typically do.
they were not sure. There's been some changes there. Okay. All right. So if we find out, and we'll try and get on the website, if in fact we find out from the veterans, all right? Thank you, Ed. Mr. Pasicolo.
Mr. Mayor, did you skip Mr. Pastor?
It's okay.
Did I
I have
miss
nothing to
that?
report.
I apologize, Mr. Pastor.
I didn't have you checked off, so I
okay.
wanted to make sure you had an opportunity. A couple of things. The transportation fund is once again up and running. We have elected, though, after Bob and I sat down and talked about Snyder, we feel that it's just too late in the year to try to pave that at this point. We talked to the people that do the paving and the milling. We're talking about the middle of next month. We're just afraid if we get a cold snap, you're trying to put hot asphalt down at the wrong time of year. Don't think it's worth it. So we've signed a contract. We can tell them we're first up in the spring. We can call them and tell them when to come out. I just don't think it's worth the gamble if we do it now and it doesn't come out the way we want it to, or it doesn't last. It's not worth gambling $200,000. I just don't think it's worth it right now.
They'll honor the contract? John?
Yeah, they'll honor the contract, and we're scheduled so we can tell them to come out, whatever, when the spring starts to, the thaw starts to come, we can have them out right away.
Okay.
From our zoning office, we had 13 new applications for plan reviews. They were completed, some which required drainage review with the township engineer. There were 3 drafts of variance applications done for residents. 7 properties were inspected for tree removal requests, follow-up results with property owners, issued permits, coordinated inspection lists with assistance from engineering department. Enforcement, we had 3 new violations issued for various code enforcement, and we followed up on some violations also. From our building department, we had 49 new applications. We issued 58 permits. They reviewed 25 plans, and they collected permit fees of $14,867. From our sewer department, the number 3 trickling filter is now complete, and it's up and running. We're doing the seeding process now on the bin. If you look at it, we had a giant tank there with rocks in it. It has microbes in there. You have to kind of seed them and let them grow. So it takes about 4 weeks. That's the first one of the trickling filter, though, is finished. Intermediate pump replacements. The bids have been received or under review at this time. The sand filter and the chlorine filter, we're still waiting for the sealant to come in so we can finish those up. From our DPW, we put 6 tons of asphalt down for potholes. Inlet repairs were Rutgers, Berkshire. We started Oak Ridge. We inspected 46 Berkshire, no obstruction there. Sutton Drive head wall outfalls, no obstruction there. Bristol Court, there was a large obstruction in the pipe, and we're planning on when to repair that. Drainage repair on 205 Gallison Drive, we had a problem. Peppertown Park, I'm sure everybody noticed, we did dig some trenching there to put electrical in for this year's winter walk and Christmas tree or holiday tree to be lit. Monday and Friday, they're checking all the town receptacles for garbage. There's 7 signs, Welcome to Berkeley Heights, still remaining to have to be put up. There were some new street signs put up by the high school underneath the stop signs that say no parking within 50 feet. I hate to bring this one up for you, but we installed 2 salters prepping for the winter season. So we started that, so it's coming. The crosswalk at Walgreens has been completed, and as I said, Mr. DeLeo, we raised approximately $16,000 on gov deals. I'm sure everyone noticed that our solar stop sign on Locust and Snyder is gone. There was an accident and somebody took it out. We have the insurance carrier that we were going to go after to have that paid for because they were quite expensive.
They didn't see it?
Over at Columbia on the culvert, they're just finishing up the stonework that has to be done so we don't have soil erode and wash away.
I walked on that today. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Water is running through there.
What a difference.
It really looks fantastic.
We'll never have to, hopefully, in our
Great
lifetime, never have
job.
to dress it again.
Yeah.
And that's, the path is going to be paved
Yeah,
also.
yeah, that looks great.
Yeah, so we're making progress there.
Yeah.
Took them a while, but it was well worth it. We mentioned that our leaf and waste yard collection program starts October 24th. I mentioned about Passaic River, that the snags have been pulled to the side. We've got to go down to DPW and remove them. Lord Littell, we obtained plans for the roof modification. We're currently obtaining quotes from contractors to do that work. Fire Department, the heating and ventilation, we're working on plans for that. We anticipate completions of plans and bid documents by the end of this month. Hopefully people noticed that Spring Ridge, Webster, Rutherford, and Hillside Terrace were done. They were not planned for this year, but since they deteriorated, especially Spring Ridge so bad, we took funds from next year actually and moved it up to this year to get those done. So when I get yelled at next year that we've got maybe 4 roads that we're not doing next year, that's where the money went. We pulled it forward. Roosevelt and Hamilton, American Water was out. I don't know if you noticed, but they did half the road where they put the trench down. They were out milling and paving, and I think that's actually done when I passed it tonight. We've been talking to Heritage Square, the street lights that do not work in front of Heritage Square. We've got a meeting with the owner to see how we can get those turned over to town and get those lights repaired and get them turned on. So we're working on that. If anyone is on the county road for leaf pickup, the county's website does have when the pickup is. If anybody needs it, let me know. This would be Diamond Hill, McMahon, Valley, Glenside, Mountain, Horseshoe, Bonnie Bird, Plainfield, and Springfield. It's listed when they're going to do the leaf pickup. So if anybody needs a copy or needs the connection to the website, let me know. We'll be happy to get that to you. One other thing I did want to mention, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Fisher was talking about our settlement with COA. I just wanted to make 2 comments quickly. One of the interveners' lawyers, when Mr. Mistretta was all done, the judge asked were there any questions or comments from any interveners, and one of their lawyers said they had no comment because he said every time I open my mouth, Berkeley Heights extracts something else out of us. And one of our neighboring towns, it appears that their agreement is falling apart.
Summit?
No,
Oh.
closer.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I think, in hindsight, or right where we are right now, I think we did the right thing. We're in much better shape.
Good.
They're having a problem, it's going to end up costing them more and more money.
Okay, that's particularly insightful, John, given the, Mr. Fisher mentioned this a month or so ago, that the Supreme Court has taken the case up, even though it was 3-0 favorable to us, so we don't know where that's going, so we're out of that.
A couple of the other towns that settled for some big numbers are experiencing buyer's remorse. They're thinking now that they should have kind of gone the way we did and tried to negotiate it, so
Okay,
that's all I have.
all right, thank
I
you.
just- Real quick, since John was talking about Snyder, last week I was, I think, going down King George Road, and it looked like the pavement was textured on the hill.
Yeah, I've noticed that in places.
I've never noticed it before.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something possible we can do
I'm
on
going to ask
Snyder.
Bob and see if we can find out.
Because it
I
looks
know
like it was
exactly what
put
you're
down
saying.
textured, not
Yep.
like the roller had something on it or
Yeah.
something, but if it's an idea, it might help us.
Yep, I will ask him tomorrow.
Thank you.
Mr. DeQuilla.
Yes, and I move that all Township Council reports be accepted and approved.
Second?
Motion second, any discussion? Vote?
Mr. DeQuilla?
Yes.
Mr. D'Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Storr?
Yes.
Mr. Ferraro?
Mr. Ferraro.
I move that the minutes of the public meeting on October 4th, 2016, and the executive session on November 10th, 2015 of the Township Council held on those dates as distributed be accepted and approved.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Vote?
Mr. DeQuilla?
Yes on the public meeting and abstain on the executive session.
Mr. D'Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Storr?
Yes.
Mr. Ferraro?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Pastor, if you would, please.
Wait, can you one second? Donovan, are these yours up here?
Yeah, underground.
Okay,
I was trying not to...
sorry.
Mr. Pastor,
I move to open the hearing on the agenda items only.
is there a second?
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Vote?
Mr. DeQuilla?
Yes.
Mr. D'Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Storr?
Yes.
Mr. Ferraro?
Yes.
Okay, the hearing on the agenda items only is open. Ms. Kingsley is our timekeeper. You're ready. Do this too.
Hi, Tom Chesky, 40 Route Place. Regarding the Uber, since Berkeley Heights only has basically two main trains that we get in and out, would it be possible for the people that are on the 2-year wait list to maybe have an alternative, a bus or a van that can be offered to them at their cost, sort of like a school bus-ish thing, and maybe that would help the people out with the, that are on the wait list get to the van, maybe, or the people that would like to take that rather than park their cars there, maybe could get a credit to give back their parking spot or something like that. I just wanted to throw that
I
idea out
think,
there.
well, that's not an agenda item, but
Oh, okay,
it's,
sorry.
but
We're
I think we can, we need to explore everything, so I think Uber's more of a door-to-door thing, and part of the appeal of that was that very thing, was you get picked up right at your house and you get dropped off right in front, so it was even preferable to parking and then having to walk in the rain, so.
Okay.
One thing also, Tom, is that Uber, it's their liability, okay?
Yeah.
If it's us with buses, it's our liability, which unfortunately,
I wonder if it could be outsourced. I mean, not outsourced, but would a private bus offered or something, I don't know. I was just throwing,
that would be a different equivalent of Uber, but I
yes,
understand, I
yeah.
understand what you're saying.
With just a kind of a bus
Yeah, I
rather than the issue.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So Julie Lloyd at 52 Deepdale Drive. First, I want to say thank you to our council, to Mark Fisher, for all that you guys do. This is a thankless job, and I know you guys work really hard. You know, we put you in, we elected you here, and we trust the fact that you guys do a great job, and I want to just say congratulations, you're doing a great job. So thank you.
Thanks.
The second question, the second is a question, and maybe this is more to John. When the utilities go and do work underneath the streets, and they repave, and they just repave that patch, is there a way to get them to
Where
repave?
specifically are we talking?
Springfield, Hamilton?
Springfield will be paved to the center line,
Okay,
and Hamilton is paved, I believe. Now, or Roosevelt, I don't know if they did Hamilton yet.
I don't think
They did Roosevelt, I'm not sure if Hamilton was done yet, but they
Okay.
will pave to the center line.
They will pave to the center line. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
I'm sorry? Hamilton's
finished it
done
this
too?
afternoon.
Hamilton's done also,
They
Joel.
finished this afternoon.
Thank you, Sandra.
Seeing no one, I move to close the hearing on the agenda items only.
Seconded.
Motion second, any discussion? Vote?
Mr. D'Elia?
Yes.
Mrs. D'Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Pastor?
Yes.
Mr. Perone?
Yes.
Mr. D'Elia, resolution number 1.
I move Resolution 1, approving bill list dated October 18th, 2016, in the amount of $259,073.61.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion?
One question. I was going over the bills just tonight, and There's one about an artificial ice skating rink or a snow globe.
Yeah,
That's Winter Walk, right?
that's Winter Walk, but that is, actually, that's just being put through. Tom, did he leave?
He had to leave.
Yes, he had to go up to GM.
Yeah,
or-
that's just being put through
Plainfield.
rec trust. It's not, it's actually going to be repaid to them. It's just the way it had to be handled.
Okay, only because it was
It's not-
$10,000.
it's not ours.
It's a
not ours.
deposit, and yeah.
They reimburse them.
That's good, thank you. Vote?
Mr. DeQuilla?
Yes.
Mr. D'Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Fasher?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Pastore?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Frazier?
I move resolution number 2, authorizing the contract with Emergency Transfer Controls, Inc. for the WPCP Electric Controls Upgrade Project in the amount not to exceed $110,412.
Second?
Motion second, any discussion? Vote?
Mr. DeQuilla?
Yes.
Mr. D'Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Fasher?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Pastore?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
I move resolution number 3, authorizing a partial release of a performance guarantee bond to Payon Realty Associates for the property located at 308 to 312 Springfield Avenue in the amount of $93,741.60.
Second?
Motion second, any discussion?
Yeah, I had a question. Which property is this one?
That's the new building, the new Payon
Yes, the
Medical
new
Building.
Payon building
When they
for
burned
fire.
down the fire.
Oh, okay.
Behind Chase, yeah.
Vote?
Mr. DeQuilla?
Yes.
Mr. D'Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Fasher?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Pastore?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Pastore?
I move consent agenda items A through E.
Seconded.
Motion second, any discussion? Vote?
Mr. DeQuilla?
Yes.
Mr. D'Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Fasher?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mr. Pastore?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Kingsley?
Just got to read it.
Yeah, would you please read the ordinance, Anna?
An ordinance of the Township of Berkeley Heights, County of Union, State of New Jersey, authorizing the lease of Our Lady of Mount Carmel Society.
Okay, I move that the ordinance as read by the clerk be offered on first reading, that November 1st, 2016 be set as the date for public hearing, and that the clerk be directed to advertise same in the Courier News.
Seconded.
Motion second, any discussion?
Just one quick question. Is it increased?
3%.
3%.
Okay.
For you out there, this is what the town pays to assist the seniors in going to Mount Carmel. Vote?
Thank you.
Mr. DeQuilla?
Yes.
Mr. D'Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Fasher?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mrs. Pastore?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Quillo?
Yes, I move to open the citizens' hearing.
Second?
Motion second, any discussion? Vote?
Mr. DeQuilla?
Yes.
Mr. D'Elia?
Yes.
Mr. Fasher?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Pastore?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Citizens' hearing is now open. Ms. Kingsley will again do the timer.
My name is Sean Mann, 75 Burlington Road. I have a proposal to the council about sports fields. I know I only have 3 minutes, so I'll be very quickly. First, disclaimer, these only reflect my personal opinion, not of any youth sports organization I'm affiliated with. They have their own opinions. This is just my opinion, Sean Mann's taxpayer volunteer. The issue is that the condition of the sports fields in Berkeley Heights varies from excellent to very poor. Without exception, the excellent fields are in Governor Livingston High School, which shows that the fields can be maintained. If you've ever been up there, you know that those fields are in excellent shape and are very well maintained. And I think most likely this is due to 3 factors. One is confusion over responsibility for the field conditions between the town, between Union County, and between the Board of Education. 2, the lack of dedicated resources and financing for proper field upkeep. And 3 is that you guys are very busy. I mean, just sitting here, I haven't been in a town council meeting in a year, and the number of issues that you deal with is enormous. And I think that this issue, while kind of a smaller one in the scheme of things, is a very large issue to a number of children, and has not been brought to your attention. So I'm trying to do that with this, in this forum. So my proposed solution is, 1, to ask one of you to kind of be the quarterback and to cut all the red tape, you know, so somebody can't just say, well, it's the county, it's not the county, it's Berkeley Heights, it's the Education Foundation, whatever. We need to do that. And also a proposal to the new hotel tax, which is 3% occupancy, to devote that to the fields. And that doesn't have to be permanent, that can be until the fields are brought up to snuff. And then the council can obviously change its mind. Me, I've put in 2,000 hours easily in youth sports and volunteer hours, and I'm willing to allocate 500 hours of my time towards this. And, I'm looking for some help. And I would like to also just ask the council not to just discard it if they say, well, we're not going to allocate the money, we can't find the money. We can find the money, I just need the red tape to go away. I just need help getting to where we can get the resources allocated to the fields and fix them. And, from the pictures in the back, the one I wanted to point out is there's a rut. This is currently a field we cannot use, but there's a rut that's so deep that when I took a picture of a shoe, a cleat in front of the other one, the cleat totally disappears.
Is that safe?
Well,
I get it.
What field is it?
Specific, right?
it's Passaic.
Specific, right, that.
I didn't see that originally.
It's the
but
back.
now
I mean,
get it.
if we want to go, I don't, you guys are very busy. I don't want to go through all the details right now, but you can see, what the situation
John,
is.
let me tell you, former Mayor Cullen and I had had a discussion within the last couple of months about forming a field committee, and he has indicated he would be willing to head that up.
He'd be excellent.
Okay, and
I would volunteer to do whatever he wants me to do.
And you've been before us before, discussing the soccer situation. I know how active.
Well, it's not, I just want to be clear, it's not just about soccer. It's about all the fields.
It's not. What I'm suggesting is that you have had an interest in this issue for a long time. You've given a lot of time to this town. So you do have, as we would say in our profession, a bona fides. You stand here, you have given the time. Okay, so you're not sitting there saying, well, I watched my kid run around on a bare field.
Yeah.
That's not what you're about. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
So Mr. Cohen has talked to me about that. I have spoken briefly to Mr. Graziano, who was the county head of DPW and lives in town.
Sure, absolutely.
And my concern is trying, because it is a county situation, is to deal with the two soccer fields and also to deal with Snyder. Okay, I know the problems that have existed on the baseball field at Snyder from the time it was first built, okay, and they've had engineers in there and so on and so forth. My suggested answer to that is to turf it, the infield, just the infield.
I'm not.
I know you're not.
I'm not knowledgeable about baseball,
Just
so I
the
don't know.
infield. Because it affords a better, number one, a better baseball field, but number two, you can play girls softball on it, you can do a lot of different things then. All right, so there's been, and I say preliminary.
And the other fields is Plainfield?
The other field is, right,
There's issues with that.
There's issues about the field.
Across the board.
And I think your comment with respect to the high school fields being in very good shape, I agree 100%. And that's probably in large part because they'll have individuals at that location each time there's something going on. They're there.
Yes.
Okay, they're doing the baseball field, they're doing all of that. Where I think we fall down, because most of the initial contact of all, I've been through this, initial contact of all parents in this town is with the school, the elementary school fields, because that's where your kids start.
Sure.
They start 3rd and 4th grade, and that's when the contact starts. And I think that's where the biggest disappointment lies. That, as you know, are school fields. The question there is, and you're acknowledging that, you're saying, look, what do we need to do to work together to get that done? I will say this, and Ms. Kingsley can verify this, the current school board, within the last 6 months to 8 months, has been extremely cooperative with this group, I think more so than others, okay? And I say that out of respect for what they're doing. I think this is a major issue that we have to talk to them about and hopefully become won over, okay? Please rest assured this will be taken seriously.
Okay, that's great.
And we'll get council reps.
Not to mention that we were on rec together, commission.
Yep.
And it's important to us as well as it is to you.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Sean.
Thanks, Sean.
Stephen Yellen, 130 Dogwood Lane. Just two questions to Mr. Basicolo. The first is regarding DPW repairs. There's a small cul-de-sac called Fawn Circle, which is off Lawrence Drive. I was there recently, and there's a very serious sort of pothole, sort of large hole in the ground at the entrance to that circle. I had mentioned that to now I'm drawing a blank on engineers, Mr. Bacchino, prior to last meeting. I just wanted to bring that to your attention as well. The second was some months ago, there was a discussion about in terms of different incentives for getting people to shop in downtown. There was a discussion of a coupon or a Buy Berkeley Heights type of, like I said, a consumer coupon of some kind to encourage people to do that. Has there been anything new on that since that last?
It's too expensive for the merchants. We looked at it and it didn't work.
Thank you very much.
Mr. DeQuilla.
Yep, seeing nobody, I move to close the citizens' hearing.
Second.
Motion second, any discussion? Vote?
Philip?
Yes.
Mr. DeLeo?
Yes.
Mr. Fasher?
Yes.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Yes.
Mrs. Pastor?
Yes.
Mr. Pearl?
Yes.
Mr. Pastor, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned.
No executive session?
No executive session tonight.
Yeah, you got it.
For the county, for the leaves.
Good evening. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting the same on the bulletin board of Town Hall and forwarded a copy of the Current News Star Ledger at least 48 hours prior to the meeting, all in accordance with the Public Meetings Act. This meeting was contained in a list of meetings set by resolution dated January 1, 2016. This meeting will not substantially go past 10:30 p.m. And a roll call, please.
Mr. DeQuilla?
Here.
Mr. DeLeo?
Here.
Mr. Fasher?
Here.
Mrs. Kingsley?
Here.
Mr. Pastor?
Here.
Mr. Pearl?
Here.
Mayor Woodruff?
Here. All please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You want to mention first about the screening of the meeting?
I'm going to go a little bit out of order this evening. What I'd like to do is jump to the conference session and ask those individuals who are here to discuss the Peppertown Park, if you ladies would like to come forward. Pay attention, Mrs. Hollowell.
Before we do that, before we have them speak, I think, as talked about at the last council meeting, I just would like to note that we have actually purchased equipment, and for the first time, we are attempting to live stream the council meetings.
Sandra says it's working.
And we think it's working, right? So it should be up, right? And it should be streaming through our,
No, it's not to the website
it's not to the
yet.
website yet. Where's it going to? Just a remote?
Space.
And just also to be clear, if it's not working, it's all Sanders' fault.
Who's not here?
Tonight's really a test, so that by the next meeting, we'll have it up and running officially on the website.
Yeah, we'll have the link to the website.
The link to the website. We're trying to make sure it's all working.
Okay.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Gay Hollowell. This is Midge Vicendes and Donovan Hall. And we're here this evening to discuss with you and present some ideas and plans for the renovation of Peppertown Park. This past summer, John Masicolo asked to meet with us to talk about ways that we might be able to do some renovations to Peppertown following the success and renovation of Veterans Memorial Park. The goal is to be able to make that center of town truly a four corners with green space, open space, and areas for everyone to be able to come and enjoy sharing whatever activity it is that's going on at the time. We were able to form a 501c3 nonprofit organization over the past month and a half. We have gotten our approval from the IRS and our nonprofit status number. We also have been able to work with the Recreation Department to apply for a Kids Recreation and Open Space Trust Grant, the deadline of which had been in August. So we were able to put some initial plans together so that we wouldn't miss an opportunity for this year's funding. We have just heard from them that, and that was the grant request that you all approved a few weeks ago by resolution. We have heard from the county, and the projects that were presented in that grant together have received $50,000. In addition to that, we were also able to apply for the Greening Union County grant and received $5,200 for the purchase of a new tree, a large type of tree, the way that we put one in at Veterans. We are also very excited that once again the school district would like to partner with us, just as they did with Operation We Remember and had the wonderful programs in the schools. This year is the 100th anniversary of the National Park Service. And the National Park Service is encouraging all communities to take this opportunity this year to see how they can enjoy, renovate, and bring people to their local parks. But for us, for Peppertown Park, it's a unique park that Midge is going to talk about, and for our school children, it's an opportunity for them to learn more about their community, as well as the importance of open space and parks in their lives. Donovan has been working so incredibly hard developing plans for Peppertown that could be done in phases. Obviously, this will be something that is not through taxpayer dollars, but through the efforts, as it was with Veterans, to be able to raise money through grants, foundations, private individuals, corporations, and the like. So he will be discussing this evening how those different phases will come into play. Our main purpose in coming before you tonight, however, is that we would seek for the council by ordinance to create a Parks Renovation and Restoration Committee, much in the way that you had done and patterned after Veterans Memorial Park. By becoming a committee of the council, just as in those cases, we are eligible to be able to pursue funding from the county as well as the state and other sources that only make their grants available to municipalities. By joining through as a 501c3, just as we did with Veterans, enables us to pursue private foundation money as well as other sources that only give to private groups. So that's what we're here to do tonight, and with that, I'm going to turn things over to Mitch.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited at the prospect of renovating Peppertown Park. First and foremost, because I feel it has such rich tradition and legacy for all of us in this community, and we are in a very unique stand in that we have this park in the downtown, and as such, it can become a very vibrant cultural hub for all of the citizens of the town to enjoy. And the community of volunteers that we have that seem very interested in this project is varied and are committed to having it seeing it through to completion. So I know that Donovan has worked very hard on these plans, and we really hope that we can work together in the future and that you will consider creating this committee for us.
Can I take a mic over there or lay it out, or?
I don't think the mic travels. Maybe can we bring the pictures over here? Just take them off these, I'll have one, yeah. Because the mic doesn't travel.
Hey, Donovan, can you also let the camera see it?
Yeah.
At some point, even if you just show it a little bit for them.
Sure. Just... I don't have to bring everything. So we took a look at, I was asked to take a look by Midge and Gail to put together a new design, a new concept for Peppertown Park. And it's a really great asset, like Gail and Midge were saying, that you know, it's kind of in our center downtown area, and I just think it's, unfortunately, it's being utilized, but not as much as it potentially could be. So I looked at a couple different program elements that we'd want to do, as it's not going to be a traditional recreational park. We wanted to be able to bring over potentially some of the music in the park and concerts in the park, So it's centered around this great lawn experience, which you'd be able to access from the train station. And I would be also proposing perhaps creating a new crossing across Plainfield Avenue, because so many pedestrians already cross in that space, even though there isn't a designated crosswalk. And then coming to a bigger meeting space, which would be inclusive with other tables and benches, a compass rose, a gathering space there as well. And then on opposite of the lawn, all the way where the existing parking lot is, keep that, but develop a performance stage or amphitheater of such, so that we can have performances there and everybody can view them on the Great Lawn. I also was told that we want to possibly bring over the Township Christmas tree. So I thought about where to potentially place that, and there's still things up in discussion as far as concept, but I think positioning the Township tree in the middle of the lawn up against the back of the park is going to showcase it to view from Sherman Avenue, as Sherman Avenue is going to become a more pedestrian street, as well as visitors would be able to see it from the NJ Transit line as they pass by on the train. And I think it'll be a real focal point during the Christmas holidays when we have the winter walk, et cetera, et cetera. And then we also kind of further along in future phases in this the upper corner of the park by Plainfield and Sherman Avenue, by the current clock tower, keeping the clock tower, but putting a kind of an art history walk to pull in some of the history of this town, as well as history of the park, and be able to have people provide art exhibits along kind of a leisure walkway that we would kind of create in the existing area over there, and preserving the couple large oak trees that are there. But other than that, everything is kind of cleaning the park up, providing the big great lawn experience. And we also potentially could also add a bike path from the train station and connect it into the Berkeley Heights Shopping Center at some point in the future. So I also provided a few kind of quick renderings just to give everybody an idea of what it looked like. This is Compass Rose meeting area. This is kind of along the main walkway. A view of the Township Christmas tree, which you would see from the train. And then this is kind of the open pavilion amphitheater structure that I was talking about for having performances at.
Donovan, could you please just put that over here?
Sure.
You don't need to move the easel, just put it on top of that.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Wait.
She needs to take a picture, Donovan.
You want to take a picture of this?
Yeah.
The other one first.
I was sitting over there, and nobody over there can see that.
Sorry, I was trying to get it so the camera's
Yep, I understand.
He's working.
I don't know. Doesn't seem it.
Take that down.
So once again, just an idea of what the gathering area would be by the compass roads and the sitting area, the great lawn experience, kind of preserving the parking lot and then backing up the open amphitheater up to it. This is kind of a view from the main walkway looking at the amphitheater. And then these are just a few other views as well. These are another view, kind of a bird's eye view of the whole park. With the amphitheater, we could potentially have a couple of American flags, maybe a township flag, streetscape lighting, trash cans, all those things would have to be included as well. This is kind of an overall view of the performance stage and how that would look. This is kind of the crossing at Plainfield Avenue that I'm talking about that's potentially pretty important. And then this is just kind of a view of Sherman Avenue, which we might want to pursue putting decent parking along Sherman Avenue, and because Sherman Avenue has a pretty big right-of-way, and I think we can get a little more extra parking if we look into putting some diagonal parking along the street. So obviously, this is a multi-million-dollar project, so we're not going to be able to do this tomorrow. So I also came up with, if you want to give me the phase one on the end.
Donovan, can you take a minute and give everybody your background?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Just because I'm not sure everybody knows how you came up with this.
Third generation owner of Falls Garden Center in town. I have a degree in landscape architecture from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, urban design and sustainable environments. So I kind of do this stuff kind of on a professional level. I have done it for other towns in New Jersey, as well as done it on a private and professional level at consulting firms too. So, but I'm here donating my time and my expertise to the town and kind of giving you guys some ideas of what you potentially have and how to lay it out. So this is kind of what I'm going to come up with for phase one. I think it's really important that we establish some of the hardscape elements, mostly being the big, it used to be a big oval, but now we widen it to a bigger horseshoe to provide more sitting area for the Great Lawn. But basically putting in the pavement here, reutilizing some of the, all the existing donation pavers that are currently in the Peppertown Walk that has the walkway that goes across the park, reusing them there, putting them all the donation ones that have everybody's name in here, so we'll be reutilizing those pavers, and that way we're not getting rid of anybody who made a donation to the first walkway in the park. But basically just establishing all the hardscape, the main entrance, not building the entire kind of meeting area, not building the performance stage or the bathroom structures, really no plantings other than getting a Christmas tree, because that would be kind of that would be important if we're going to move that over, and then also developing the lawn. So basically phase one is just laying out the brick and bones and putting together basically all the hardscape elements, as well as the new Township Christmas tree and a great lawn for the stages. And then after that, we can continue to work to phase 2, 3. I kind of broke it out into probably about 5 phases, but I just wanted to show everybody kind of what I was thinking that we should try to shoot for phase 1, so that we can have something substantial to move forward with. And that's pretty much everything I have. Any questions?
Donovan, were you able to measure the current ballpark square footage of the lawn as it currently exists?
Yeah, currently, well, the problem with the current layout of the park is that it goes diagonally. There's a walkway that goes diagonally here, and then you have trees all going along that walkway. So it's kind of dissecting the park like directly in half. We have an area that's about, I want to say it's about 100 by 75 feet that's kind of open, but then there's another patch of evergreen trees that are actually kind of in the Great Lawn area now currently, that are kind of dissecting the lawn space.
Okay, so if everything is removed consistent with your plan, percentage-wise, do you get 50% more lawn, 30% more lawn?
Oh, yeah,
what do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We would probably have closer to 50% more lawn. This space, the Great Lawn space, is 100 by 150 feet. So it's not the size of a football field, but it's half a football field. It's definitely adequate enough to have several thousand people there for a concert. Usually, for a rule of thumb, you want to use about 10 square feet per person in a loose gathering, and like 4 square feet or 2 square feet if it's going to be like a more dense gathering. So there's definitely a lot of room for several thousand people here.
So would your recommendation be, if you were going to segment this project, that the first thing you would do obviously is to clear the land to determine how big that lawn's going to be? Is that an initial effort?
Yes, that's our initial effort would basically be clearing the land, as well as getting. I based all this off of aerials. We don't actually have a formal survey. The next thing would be getting a survey done, and then these are pretty precise from an aerial view, but they could be a couple feet off. But yeah, we would clear out the whole land, and then we can get an exact measurement of.
Gay, Ms. Hollowell, is a survey amongst one of the early undertakings of the group?
Yes, and I have.
Can you speak to that, if you would, please?
Thank you. Yes, part of what we had asked for in this grant from the county is to survey the property. So the whole first phase of the project is really preparation to be able to then install after that. And obviously, we would be doing fundraising simultaneous to doing that. So the first phase that Donovan has described, I just want to thank Donovan. You cannot imagine the hours that have gone into this. Donovan is a lifelong resident and a volunteer and was eager to lend his professional expertise as well as his valuable time to share in something that could be so special. The goal for Phase 1, as you can see, is to be able to clear out and then be able to start with some of the materials. It would be our goal to, just as we did with veterans, have a lot of in-kind services of people that are willing to donate their time to help install the walkways and what have you. So in this initial thing, it's really just all the things that the volunteers wouldn't be able to do from the standpoint of material costs and the like. Also built into this, and I absolutely love Donovan's concept for a great lawn. I just even like the name of it for the center of town. It just sounds so great. But is also to grade the land properly to be in preparation for Phase 2, which would be the installation of a pavilion area. So it would be set up so you would get the best viewing kind of way to be able to then go into that Phase 2, which would be the natural next step to provide that. All these other kinds of things, some of them may be contingent and involved with the redevelopment of Sherman Avenue, obviously with sidewalks, possibly bike paths. This is really a perfect partnership project on many, many levels, from the municipal level, the private level, and then obviously the county, the state, and NJ Transit. One of the things that NJ Transit offers is what's called Safe Streets to Transit, where they really encourage bike paths and the like. These are things that are available through grants. So when Donovan talks about it as multi-phase, it truly is. As it shapes up, we would be trying to pursue additional sources of monies to be able to add to these improvements to end up with the kind of end result that he has envisioned for us. But this initial phase is really just to get it ready. What we have now is a large piece of property that we call a park that isn't really designed as a park. It's land. It's open space, and open space in New Jersey, as you all know, is very rare, let alone to get it in the center of your town. So a lot of the private foundation dollars that are out there are very eager to see towns that are doing these types of projects, particularly making them cultural hubs, outdoor art centers, outdoor music, outdoor theater, and the like. So the potential is all there, and we're just a very excited group that believes that the power of energy and volunteers can do an awful lot for this community, as it already has, and we're just trying to continue that forward momentum.
Okay, thank you, Gay. Any comments or questions by anybody on the dais?
Yeah, I have a couple. First of all, thanks for all you're doing here as volunteers. It's a great thing and great-looking project. Just a couple of questions and comments. We've been talking about some of the affordable housing projects that are going in. They're, components for affordable housing. But as part of that, for example, the King's property, the movie theater property, we're envisioning changes to Sherman Avenue, both sides. So obviously, we need to incorporate that and make sure that from a planning perspective, and then with what the committee would be doing, that it's integrated and makes sense. And
Donovan can address that, I think, Mark.
Yeah, especially as far as if we want to pursue having diagonal parking on Sherman Avenue, which would give an additional 23 spaces for the park as well as the town, even the train station perhaps. So it would be important for us to kind of work together and determine what site improvements are going to be for Sherman Avenue as far as the streetscape, because I do know that that's going to be included with some of your work, so, site lighting.
Yeah. And again, we don't need the answer now, it's just making sure that it's integrated, we're considering what's happening there, and then what's happening here.
I think in the design of the lawn, Donovan took into account that the setback would, depending on whatever happens out on Sherman Avenue, won't change what he's working on here.
Yeah.
So it's
So
not
the
like something
parking-
would come.
No, what's great about it,
So
the
the parking was
The timing could be
incorporated in the actual parkland.
I'm sorry?
The parking was actually incorporated in the parkland.
Not to the parkland.
No, you're saying
Is that not Green
That's off of
Acres?
Sherman Avenue.
Is that Green Acres? John, do you have any idea?
That's a question we have to find out,
Okay,
because
so
we
if it's
can't
Green
cut into
Acres,
that
it's going to
diagonal
impact.
parking.
It's going to
Can't
impact.
take away from the park.
I would think possibly.
I asked our
diagonal
town planner
park.
to look at this already. I have Mike looking at it.
John had
I
mentioned
know.
that he was going to pursue looking into that.
Right.
So when Donovan did the design, he
Yeah.
accounted for that. He's
Oh,
not
okay.
using any
Good.
of the space
Good.
that could potentially be that.
Yeah.
So this design would not have to be impacted by whatever those results might be.
Yeah, again, it's just where it's happening at the perfect time, because we're going to talk about in a few minutes where we are with that, and in the next months and year, a lot of this design work on the other properties is going to be going on, so to be doing this now is actually perfect timing to integrate all of that. So we'll get our planner involved in the context of those projects, just making sure that it's seamless, which is a great thing. I guess the other thing is, it's great, ambitious plan. You mentioned it's just going to be privately funded grant money, not Berkeley Heights taxpayer money. What happens if we just get to the point and only Phase 1 could get done? We're going to be looking at this in a stepwise fashion so that Phase 1, Phase 2, you could stop and it's still a serviceable park, and obviously much better than it's in now. So whatever we get's a bonus.
Yes.
Exactly. So that the space is usable, it can just be used for that much more with the additional
Right.
phase improvements that you would do.
Right.
But initially, you would have a very pretty downtown area
Right.
park, rather than just open space.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's so dark now.
Okay, you did mention that you have secured 5,200, so that could be slotted into the Norway spruce
That is
column here?
correct. That is
Okay,
correct.
so that has been raised already?
Yes.
And then there'll be a discussion between yourself and Mr. Barton with respect to potential allocation of the $50,000? Is that also an issue?
That's right.
Okay. And have you and Mr. Barton, who's sitting in the back tonight, welcome, Thomas, have you had any preliminary discussions towards that issue?
Yes,
Okay.
the rec commission had also looked this year to be able to do some equipment purchases for the playgrounds. And one of the things that's unique about this committee and why we're asking to be formed in the manner in which we are, is that we really have not had a situation here in Berkeley Heights where we have a committee that just addresses parks, not playgrounds, not playing fields, but true parks for citizens to enjoy, some of these other types of programming areas. And we feel that it's important to identify certain areas as being parkland and park settings, and not playgrounds or playing fields / parklands. So that's the other reason why we're pursuing this in the manner in which we are. Timing-wise, because we were still in this early design phase, if the initial funding out of this year's grant just provides for the surveying and some of the ground clearing, we're prepared for that to be the case. And then for next year's submission, we've already talked to Mr. Barton that Peppertown would probably be the focal grant for that year. You get to apply for this money every year.
Good, very good. Okay. Now, the Mondelli property, which is across the train tracks, and I understand that that's a separate entity, and I understand that that's subject right now to a disposition of a will and so on and so forth. One of the discussions there has included that whoever purchases that property and builds on a portion of it will dedicate a greater portion of that property to a park kind of look. Has there been any thought about some form of integration, possibly?
Yeah, we talk about that. We talk about it all the time when we're together, because the vision really is for a downtown, what we've come to refer to as the four corners. really taking a completely different shape from what it has traditionally had. And I think that the renovation of Veterans Park has inspired these other things to happen, but it's also been very inspirational to our citizens and our residents to want to enjoy this outdoor kind of area in this unique kind of way. So depending on how the disposition of that will is and what's mandated in it, one of the good things about having formed this as a 501c3 for parks is that if assistance is needed there, there's already a group that's formed that could come to the assistance if necessary, but certainly to complement things in terms of design and aesthetics.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? So why don't I take a straw vote here. Obviously, the ordinance has to be prepared, and we will have our council do that. Straw vote as to whether or not we should present an ordinance addressing what Donovan, Gay, and Midge have all presented this evening?
I think it's a great idea.
All right. Let's all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Okay. We'll hopefully have it by the next meeting. Let Joe know.
Yep, making it out right now for you.
We'll hopefully have it done by next meeting. Thank you all.
Thank you. Great job, guys. Seriously.
I'm going to now go back, now that Barbara's here. Charlie, would you please join us? I can't think of anything more apropos than just having had a presentation by 3 volunteers to lead into what we're going to do right now. Charlie Pratt, since I have been coming to meetings and also been a member of the governing body, steps up any and all times he's asked. And he took over and began on a very, very tough, difficult level this entire website stuff, and brought his expertise to it. And I don't know where we would have been as we struggled early on to try and get this to some level of a facility, okay? And it was a very difficult thing to do. Charlie has really been a friend of the town. He cares about this town, and it's shown in what he does for this town. So, as follows, Charles. Whereas Charles Pratt has been a resident of Berkeley Heights for over 30 years and a member of the Communications Committee since its inception in 2010. And whereas Charles Pratt has tirelessly volunteered his time towards many Berkeley Heights community activities, such as helping out at movie nights and the Memorial Day Parade, and whereas in 2012, Charlie created a new website for the Township of Berkeley Heights and has updated and maintained it sometimes, making posts at a moment's notice. And whereas Charlie graciously assisted in the testing of the Swift 911 alert system, receiving interesting messages prior to the implementation. And whereas for the past several years and hopefully a foreseeable future, Charlie dons the red suit in December, controlling many of the children of Berkeley Heights. We'll keep that quiet. And whereas the Mayor and Township Council believes that it's appropriate to recognize volunteers who devote their time and talents to our community. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor and Township Council of the Township of Berkeley Heights does hereby, for itself and for all the residents of the township, publicly thank Charles Pratt for his many years of volunteerism, dedication, and service, approved this 18th day of October 2016. Charlie, congratulations.
I would like to just thank everybody. I really appreciate it. The word volunteer is coming up all the time now. Just recognition for any volunteer, no matter what they do. These are our neighbors, our friends. These are people that half the time you don't even know. The room here is filled with people that have volunteered in the past, and I appreciate the recognition. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Okay, Ms. Lloyd, the Beautification Committee also has a presentation of sorts to make.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Julie Lloyd. I'm part of the Downtown Beautification Committee. In keeping with our brand and the spirit of creating pride within Berkeley Heights, and a genuine feeling of community among Berkeley Heights residents, we propose to design, order, and sell Berkeley Heights branded ornaments and car magnets featuring the new train station logo. Our plans to sell these items at the Winter Walk. If we have leftover stock, we'll sell them at Berkeley Hardware, who's agreed to do that for us. We will use revenue raised from this fundraiser to buy more seasonal banners to line Springfield Avenue. These banners will add visual interest and make our downtown more inviting, in line with our mission. So you have the costs in front of you. Shall I go through them, or you got that?
I think we have.
The size of the ornament is 3.25 inch round, satin finished, round shatterproof ornament. The train station's in the front, and the Berkeley Heights, New Jersey is in the back. And then the oval-shaped, outdoor-safe magnet is going to just say Berkeley Heights, New Jersey, with the train station on it. So
They're really beautiful.
That's it. I think they're going to sell out.
I think so, too.
But just for the public's benefit, because I don't think this is before the public, so the cost is going to be $2,200, the sale price $6,200, and the profit would be $4,000.
Right.
Right? So the risk is you're making a $2,000 investment, and we stand to make $4,000 for the banners and...
That's right. Yep.
So...
Hopefully, we could get a number of banners through that, so.
Julie?
Yes.
Will you be able to pre-order? Can residents pre-order?
That's a great question.
We do not have the manpower to pre-order.
I was all ready to just buy one right now.
I know, you want it right now.
You and me both.
No.
Oh, well.
You have to come to the Winter Walk.
Everybody needs to show up at the Winter Walk and get to the downtown table first.
Right? Okay.
Any questions or comments to
They just need permission. They need a vote, a straw poll from the council to do
It's a
this.
fundraise.
We'll do the same thing on a straw poll. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say aye.
The ayes have it.
Nay. Still a vote.
The ayes still have it.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
Okay, Mr. Marceau. The best practices presentation, what I'd ask you to do, Michael, if you would please, just explain to the audience what best practices is insofar as it relates to the township and how it handles its finances.
That one working?
I don't think any of these are working.
I don't know. There you go.
All right, so basically, a number of years ago, the state came up with this best practices idea. It's basically a questionnaire that they hand out to all the various subdivisions of the state, municipalities, authorities, et cetera. It started out as a 50-question questionnaire. You had to get a certain number of correct answers, if you will, to receive 100% of your state aid. Otherwise, they withhold a portion of your state aid. This year, it's a little different. They've actually dropped the number of questions to 30. They've given you a threshold of which to get 100%, but if you get anything below that, they are not telling you how much aid they will withhold, just that they will withhold aid. So that's kind of where we stand today. So this year, as I said, it's 30 questions, and I believe the minimum amount of positive responses you need is 22 or 20. And we have 26. So we're getting 100% of our state aid. And if you want, I'll just briefly run through the no's.
Could I ask you, Mike, I've had a chance to review, and I'm not suggesting you shouldn't go through it. Can you go the 4 that we don't have? So that they can be spoken of, because a few of those questions I thought were a little whatever.
So this is a municipality's participation in FEMA's National Flood Insurance Program community rating system can lead to a significant flood insurance premium reduction for its homeowners. An explanation of the program may be found on FEMA's website and more information on how the DEP statewide CRS coordinator can assist with improving your rating can be found. Our engineer is currently working on that, but won't be done in time. That was the other change, was you used to be able to answer perspective. You can't do that anymore.
I recall that.
Right.
The other one was the director's ratio for each municipality as determined by the Director of the Division of Taxation in the Table of Equalized Valuations promulgated, blah, blah, blah. They're basically talking about your assessed value of your property. Should not go below 85%. And then they said, has your municipality at a minimum awarded a contract for updating tax maps and earmarked funds in its budget for hiring of relevant firms and or professionals? No.
Was there an issue, Michael, with us possibly being able to use the county from a tax map purpose? Do you recall that recently?
I do not. I've not heard we could use the county. If we could, that's great. I do know, revaluations are very expensive, so we haven't really broached that yet, but let's see. Okay, so we have audit findings address areas needing improvement. Ignoring these findings devalues the process, therefore municipalities should correct noted deficiencies. Have all the deficiencies from 14 been identified and corrected in 15? That's no. We had the timing issue with a couple of deposits, which, unless we hire more employees, really there's nothing you can do. People take vacations and sick time and whatnot.
Well, which one was that? Because we just had our audit and we had no material deficiencies, so which?
Yeah, we didn't have any material deficiencies. We did have recommendations or comments, as they call them.
Okay, so these are above and beyond the audit finding, it's just
Correct.
process-related stuff, so?
Correct, yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
so we had a couple deposits that were made. Basically, when you collect money, it's supposed to be deposited within 48 hours. We exceeded that threshold.
Right, so that's not an audit failure, it's just a recommended?
Correct.
Got it.
So in other words, in order to get that as a check mark, you have to have a clean audit? No recommendations?
No, as a matter of fact, you could have 40 recommendations one year, 40 the next, as long as they're not the same.
Okay.
So we actually had only 2 comments, so that was very good, but we just happened to have one that was repeated. Let's see. And then we have employee personnel manuals or handbooks serve as a valuable tool to convey municipalities' policies, procedures, and benefits. Many insurance carriers encourage adoption of such a document. These publications should review employees' rights, obligations, blah, blah, blah. Has your municipality adopted or updated employee personnel manual handbook by resolution or ordinance within the past 5 years? And we have not.
Where do we stand on that, John?
There's still some questions at Patterson because of technology today that we're kind of wrestling with, just to be sure how we broach those subjects. As far as social media.
Social media.
Yeah, so Jim's still kind of...
Okay. Okay, so those are the 4 that we did not meet whatever requirement was set forth by the state. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Does anyone want to hear the 26 that we did?
No.
All right, okay. If anyone out there has a specific question about any of those 26,
I have a question
will be
about
available.
I have a question about the first one.
Go ahead.
So you said the engineer is working on the FEMA thing. Will that be fixed by next year? I mean, is that our goal?
I would hope so, yes.
I have to talk to him.
Okay.
Okay. Any other inquiries of Michael?
No.
Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, Township Council reports. Mr. DeQuilla.
Yes, today I had an opportunity to go attend the Governor's Town Hall meeting that was held over in New Providence, and he was talking about the fairness formula. So one of the takeaways was that if this was to come to fruition, average household savings for Berkeley Heights would be in a range of about $2,200. So interesting town hall, interesting information passed by the governor, so I encourage everyone to take a look at some of the information on how he would propose to do it through currently taking action in the Supreme Court and even trying to put something on the ballot for next year, so see what happens, but it was a very interesting discussion.
You mentioned to me, and I think it's appropriate that everyone hear Part B of that discussion today. I think you're all going to be very interested in this, particularly with our continuing interaction with the County of Union.
So the governor opened up to general Q&A, and one of the last questions was raised by a resident of Summit on his opinion of the fact that Union County was a general open election for freeholders versus district. And basically, Reader's Digest version, would he be interested in going down to Union County freeholders meeting and try and advocate for districts, which he answered yes. So it was an interesting opening conversation about looking to see if Union County could potentially go to a district versus an open free election. So it was an interesting comment, brought a lot of discussion, so it would be interesting to see where that goes and how we can continue on with that same type of action.
As a matter of course, there are 9 freeholders. I believe 6 of them come from 2 or 3 towns. Okay, so this is an idea which is long overdue, because it's a legitimate argument that those of us out here, when I say out here, I'm talking about Westfield, Mountainside, New Providence, Summit, Berkeley Heights, arguably have an issue with representation. So I appreciate the governor. He's got 15 months. Take a shot. Okay. Mr. Perron.
Nothing to report.
Mr. DeLeo.
I don't know where we're going this way, but fine. I also was at that, well, first on that one subject about the county, I think it was 2008, I believe that municipal committees all around this area were trying to propose to get, the Democrats in the county to change it. And I guess it never went anywhere.
It's got to come out of the assembly. Okay, that's my understanding of the law on it. So that's why elections matter.
Yeah, I just vaguely remember Dave Vonner and some others who were talking about it, and I remember it was being discussed, but it fell apart, I guess, which is understandable because they don't want to lose their power.
It's probably going to happen right after the affordable housing legislation's enacted. Once they get done with that, it'll happen.
They take care of the Abbott problem, they'll probably do that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Another thing was, again, I was at Christie's thing, and just for the record, if anyone ever has the chance to go listen to him speak, I believe this is my 7th time sitting in a room listening to him, and it is nothing like what you see on the news or read about him. He is probably one of the best speakers out there. He is so entertaining, you're never bored, and every time it's different, and he's funny and excellent, and he has I give him a lot of credit for trying this idea, because I know he's tried many ideas to try and lower our taxes, which I don't know if any governor ever has truly tried. And this really would save a lot of people a lot of money. I know other than us with $2,200, Westfield would save $3,700, or that's what, for an average house in Westfield, that's what they would be lowered. And I think Scotch Plains is another one that's, I can't read without the glasses, but in the 3,200 range. But it was an excellent morning and well worth the trip.
Thank you, Ed. Mr. Fisher?
No, I still have a couple more little ones. Simple one, the Gov deals, did it finish yet? Or
Yes, it did.
how did we do?
16,000.
Excellent. And another little one is, this is, I guess, for John. I sort of saw the guys clearing the river, so they were there about a week or 2 ago, but they left 2 huge logs on the boat launch.
Okay, the deal, God bless you. The deal was, they were to clean the snags out of the river. DPW's had to now go down and drag them out, take them away.
Okay, because that spot goes so far underwater.
I was guessing they pushed the wrong button. I said, I'm going to come in, you're going to figure out some stupid button.
Yeah, it looks like it's working fine now.
Fine. I was guessing it. I said, you're going to push.